Hello, everybody. This is the CFE podcast. This is episode 1. I am your host today, Preston, and I am joined by my co-host, Zach, as I like to call him, Beck. And yeah, we just kind of want to hop right into this and just talk about our stories a little bit. You know, we've been friends for a long time, known each other 10 plus years. Um, and we really just kind of wanted an excuse to talk about college football a little bit more. And we were like, let's just do a podcast about it. Might as well get some content out there and talk about it at the same time. And if this goes somewhere, it goes somewhere. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But, Beck, you want to say anything? Add to that at all?
Yeah, just basically wanted to put this together so we can talk about college football a lot easier than just sending thousands of texts back and forth every week. So, I,
Absolutely.
yeah, glad to do it
Absolutely.
and looking forward to it.
Yeah. Um, so Beck, let's just go ahead and hop right into our CFP rankings. We're in conference championship week right now, and got some good ones this weekend. Probably the most excited I've been about conference championships in a long time because we actually have the two most deserving teams in the conference to be playing for a championship, which is my favorite part of not having divisions anymore in conferences. But CFP rankings came out last night. Um, I was listening to Josh Pate this morning, and he was saying, a little bit of the drama's kind of taken out now because of where Bama and Miami and uh, Ole Miss and South Carolina are placed. But thought we kind of just go through and give our top 25 rankings and the reason why for them. But Beck, if you want to start us out with that, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I think just kind of going through, I'll point out what I have different than the CFP, since most people should know what that is. Basically, to start the so some nitpicks I had with it is I have Notre Dame third above Penn State. I just think Notre Dame would win that game 80% of the time because Penn State would find a way to lose. I have Indiana over SMU because I just think Indiana's a better team and similar resumes. But the first hot take I have is when it comes to that 11th spot that everyone's talking about that Bama receives due to their brand name. Because looking at the resumes and looking at what team's the best to put there, I went and put Old Miss there. Because I think out of the three SEC teams, they would be the team that would win and be the biggest threat in the playoffs.
Okay. All right.
Yep. And so just the only other things I have, I guess, is well, first of all, it's crazy Miami's that high because BYU has a better resume than they do, and they're probably a better team. But so I have BYU 16th and Miami 17th because Miami shouldn't be that high to begin with. And then I have no idea why Missouri is ranked. I don't have Missouri ranked. Yes, they're a 9-3 SEC team, but they have beaten nobody and have played nobody, and every big game they played, they got blown out by 35. So I don't even have them ranked. So that's probably my other hot take is Missouri shouldn't even be in the rankings.
Yeah. Anything else to add to that?
I think that about covers my hot takes at least.
what what's your 20 through 25 spots look like?
So 20 through 25, I got Colorado 20, Syracuse 21, UNLV 22, Army, Louisville, Texas A&M.
Okay.
Because I think
Yeah.
Louisville and A&M have the two best 8-4 resumes of the Big Four.
Yeah. I probably agree with that. Um yeah, I don't know. For me, I don't know if I have any necessarily hot takes. I put Miami at 16 because their defense is horrible. Like, I know their offense is really, really good, but like, gosh, their defense is so bad.
Uh,
Like, blowing a 21-0 lead against Syracuse, that's just not a good look. You know, I'm sure I'm sure the staff down there and all the players are trying really hard, and I'm sure that they're you know great people. Just the all around defensive effort is just not there at the moment. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, one, I had Oregon. I put Notre Dame at 3 because I feel like they've really kind of cooked everybody except for their one loss to the Huskies.
All right.
Um, yeah, I put Georgia at 4. Their wins at Tennessee and Texas and Florida. Um, Penn State's best win is Illinois. I put them at 5. Um, I put Ohio State at 7. I think they were at 6 in the CFP rankings last night. Their best one is Indiana. I don't know. I just feel like with their roster, I don't know. I think they have a lot of potential, but I don't know. Just the Michigan game was a little out of the blue. I thought, which is just out of the blue, but it's pretty funny. And yeah, SMU 9, Boise State 10. Yeah, I put Bama in that 11th spot actually. The reason why I put them there is because of the Georgia win. I just feel like Ole Miss's losses to Kentucky, Florida, and LSU, like those are bad losses. And I know Alabama lost to Vandy, and that's not necessarily a great loss either. But I don't know. I just at the moment I would take Bama over Ole Miss. Any other ones? I did have it very ranked. I had them at 18, and I think the sole reason for that is that they beat Arkansas, and Arkansas beat Tennessee. So I think Arkansas is a pretty quality team. And then that kind of the CFP, ranking scenario of like the Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina. I had Ole Miss at 12, and South Carolina at 13. But yeah. Other than that, not a whole lot different. But overall, I think ours are decently similar, along with the CFP rankings as well. But you don't have Missourian. I do at the moment, but without Luther Burden, he declared for the draft, and he's not playing in their bowl game. They're going to be a little hurt from that.
Yeah. So I guess on Ole Miss versus Bama, I'll put this to you on why I have Ole Miss. Because yes, Ole Miss lost to Kentucky was bad, but it was also early. And with the playoffs and similar resumes, in picking Ole Miss, I do so because I look at what they've done lately. Yes, they lost to Florida, but they did the same week. Bama went to Norman and lost, just got obliterated by a mediocre team. Florida
Yep.
played the gauntlet this year and is a pretty darn good team when they have their quarterback. So, with that being said, and Ole Miss should have won that game if they weren't atrocious in the red zone. So,
Yep.
that being said, I decided to pick the team that I thought would do the best and forgive that
Yeah.
early game. Like I did, I like having Notre Dame third. I forgive that early game and look more at like the last 4 to 6. So that was my
Yeah.
reasoning on having Ole Miss above Bama.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I definitely think that's valid. Like, I don't know. With, I think with Bama, they like it kind of just depends on week to week, like which Bama you're gonna see. Like, are you gonna see Ryan Williams and Jalen Milroe destroying everybody like they did when they're at like when they're playing Georgia, or are you gonna get 3 points Alabama like they got at OU? And then I don't know, kind of same with Ole Miss. Like the performance like varies from week to week, and it's hard to be consistent in college football. But yeah, Ole Miss's roster is like crazy talented on paper, and I wish they would have played each other because it would have made the ranking a lot easier. If, deciding which one goes where. But yeah, I think Yeah, I don't know. I think probably Bama beating LSU would be the reason why I'd probably put them above Ole Miss. I don't know.
Yeah. Just, so the yeah, kind of along the same reason that I did it is we're arguing over 12. This isn't the top
Yeah,
four. Like top four, I'm gonna be more critical on your wins and losses, but we're arguing over a bunch of flawed teams that went 9-3.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I always struggle with the deserve versus best. And looking at the
yeah.
resumes, I think they're similar enough that I think I can go with that. I at least
It's
talk
kind of
myself
pick
into.
'em.
Right.
It's kind of a pick 'em. Like their resumes are very similar. Like they both beat Georgia. They both have bad losses. You know, they've cooked people. They've had close games. Like it's really about the same. But yeah, for sure. But yeah. So your top. So who's your top four?
So my top four in order is Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State.
Okay, we are the exact same except for four. I have Georgia instead of Penn State. And the reason why I have Georgia at four is because I know Penn State's 11-1, but their best win is Illinois.
That is
And then
true, but they also have 5 wins over bowl teams. So they haven't played the best teams, but they also haven't. They're beating up
they
good.
they played mid tier Big Ten teams for sure.
Mhm.
And that's it's not that's not something to knock for sure. You know, I mean, who's your five?
5, I had Georgia.
Okay, so we just flipped them around.
Right.
Um, yeah, because the reason why I put Georgia at four, yes, they look vulnerable at times, but I put them at four because of their wins at Tennessee and Texas, and at Florida too, which Ole Miss couldn't get done, so I put them at four. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see how Georgia fares against Texas this weekend. Again, I know they beat them earlier in the year, but I'm curious to see what uh what Carson Beck's going to look like.
Right. See if that Texas defense can, or Texas offensive line more like, because that was the difference in the first game, is if they can figure anything out or not.
Yeah, yeah, and Texas looked really good against A&M. And coming into last week, I was really high on A&M. Like I don't know why. Like if I was a coach, I'd want Marcel Reed playing for me so bad. Like I don't know why. He's very explosive. I like the way he runs the quarterback position. Very fast. Has a pretty good arm on him. I'm uh, definitely certain that Colin Klein has a very bright future at Texas A&M as the OC.
Definitely got his quarterback. Forced
Yeah,
forced Weinman into the portal today, so definitely
I
seems to be
know.
going
I
that
know.
way.
I saw that. I saw that.
They're all flooding in.
Who was your six, 7, 8, 9, and 10?
Yeah, so the rest of my top 10, I had Ohio State at 6, Tennessee 7, Indiana 8, SMU 9, and Boise 10. I don't disagree with
Okay.
people who are outraged at Boise getting a potential bye, but you look because they really have like let me pull that up real quick. Their best wins. I mean, their best wins are a Washington State team that lost the last 2 games of their season at UNLV,
Yep.
and then an Oregon State team that went 6-6.
Mhm.
So
Um, and then I don't know. I will say too, Boise State's only loss was to 3 by Oregon.
it was.
Like that is not a bad loss.
No, and one
I
of
mean,
my
like a loss is a loss, but
Yeah, and one of my favorite statistics is strength of record, and the strength of record has them at 13th in the nation. So if you look at their schedule
yeah,
compared to others, and like even you look at their strength of schedule is 86th, SMU's 75th. So it's a very similar
yeah,
schedule to SMU. I think SMU's probably better. They've played better teams,
yeah,
but
yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know a whole lot about SMU. Like, I just haven't really got a chance to watch them this year. Like, from what I know, I feel like they made like a quarterback switch at some point during the year. Like, that really kind of set them loose a little bit. I think Preston Stone was their quarterback, and then they switch to someone else, and then maybe switch back to him. But um, I mean, yeah, their only loss is to BYU, and BYU is definitely, a respectable team. Being 10-2. Um, so yeah, I'm very curious to watch the ACC championship game because SMU at 9. Um,
yes.
just because I know that, like, here's the difference between SMU and Miami for me right now is that SMU has been handling all of their conference opponents, and Miami has not been handling their conference opponents. That's why I've got SMU at 9.
Yeah. And just looking at the resume, like they killed a 8-4 TCU team by 24 early in the season. They
Yeah.
beat a Louisville team that pounded Clemson by 7 earlier this
Yep.
year. And they killed a Pitt team and this was the good Pitt team that they killed. I think
Yep.
that was before the quarterback got hurt, and maybe after. So maybe that's
Yeah.
not true, but still a good Pitt team.
Oh yeah. Definitely a solid pit team for sure. Um. Yeah, I had Tennessee at 6. The Bama and Vandy win. And then also earlier in the year when OU was still pretty relevant, um, they won in Norman. Um, and I think Josh Heupel and Nico's and that defense, like, their ceiling is really high. And if they get hot at the right time, I think they're pretty dangerous team. So that's why I put them at 6, and then put Ohio State at 7. Um, put 8. I put Indiana at 8. They beat down on everybody except for Ohio State, and they also beat Michigan, which Ohio State did not do. So that's why I've just got them one spot behind Ohio State, and then SMU 9, and then I had Boise State at 10. Um, and putting Boise State at 10 is just because obviously they have Ashton Genty, dangerous man. I know you and I both think that he should win the Heisman.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, only loss being 3 points to Oregon. I will say about Boise State, though, they've definitely had some closer games than I would expect in the Mountain West. I know they struggled a little bit against Wyoming, um, and I don't know their quarterback's first name, but Maddox, I know he's struggled at some points during the year. So I think if they, you know, I'm curious to see how well Genty holds up, if they do in fact make the playoffs. Because if UNLV beats them, I think UNLV is going to get in.
Yeah,
But that can be discussed in our scenarios.
yeah. Just so real quick on why I have Ohio State over Tennessee
Yep.
is
Because
honestly
you had them at 6, correct?
correct. I have
Ohio State
Ohio
at
State
6.
6, Tennessee 7. So the reasoning I
Yep.
have
Okay.
is I think you both have bad losses. Tennessee to Arkansas, Ohio State to Michigan. I think the Michigan one is less bad because I rivalry games, anything can happen compared to just Arkansas in the middle of the year. And then you just look at the wins. Tennessee has one ranked win, and it's Bama, compared to Ohio State has
Mhm.
two top 10 wins over Penn State and Indiana. So,
Good.
and one of your losses is a game you should have won if not for a bogus offensive pass interference call versus the number one team in the nation at Eugene. So that's why I could only drop them so far.
Yeah. Um, so just a spoiler alert for anyone who may be listening. Beck and I are absolutely ginormous Nebraska fans. And I don't know. I kind of also maybe influenced my decision of putting Ohio State at 7 because they struggled against us. And yes, I know our defense like played out of their mind, but like I think they should have handled us a lot better than what they did, personally. Um, so I don't know. I think I think Ohio State and Tennessee very very similar teams. You know, they have very high ceilings. Um, I do agree that Oregon Ohio State game was madness, and there were definitely some calls that could have flipped the game results. Like even that one on that first drive that Will Howard threw to that tight end, probably maybe was a pick by Oregon that didn't get reviewed. And same with that pass interference call on Jeremiah Smith. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just probably agree to disagree on that one. So I think it's all just
yeah,
part of. I think all these teams are flawed except maybe Oregon and Texas, but we'll see this week how
I
they
know,
fare. So
I know. Yeah, I'm curious to see how Oregon is going to play against Penn State, just because this is Oregon's by far toughest test since they played Ohio State.
definitely, how they got out of
Like
not
on
playing Penn State or Indiana or I
yep.
guess they did play
the
Illinois,
the road
but
the road trip to Madison was difficult for them, but yeah, that was probably well that team Wisconsin's not even going to a bowl game now.
mhm,
But so yeah, this will be their toughest test since Ohio State.
definitely.
Um, yeah, I think by far Oregon and Texas are the two best teams right now.
and
Um,
and yet I could see them both losing this week. So
I know, I know. Depends on which Penn State team shows up this week.
I mean, it's not Michigan or Ohio State, so
I know, no. I'm very very curious to see what happens for the Big Ten this weekend, and I think this kind of gives us a good little transition into like CFP, you know, playoff scenarios and stuff. Um, yeah, kind of a couple things I've been thinking about was that I think the Big Ten has four teams like locked in at the moment.
yep.
I don't think if Penn State loses, they're going to fall out. I don't think that um, Ohio State or Indiana are going to fall out. Um, I think that Georgia is probably in no matter what, even if they lose. I think it may be a little close. Like I think they may be like 11 or 12 seed. Um, maybe if they lost, Bama would slip in ahead of them, but I think they're probably in no matter what.
I think as long as they
Um,
don't get blown out, they will be.
yeah, yeah. And I don't see them getting blown out. I think it's gonna be a close game.
Agreed.
Um, I think Tennessee's in no matter what. Um, the winner of the Mountain West is going to get in, and that will be the only Group of Five team to get in. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that. I don't see Army slipping past UNLV if they win this weekend.
Definitely.
Um,
And especially with
and
how
I
the
don't see.
playoff committee put them, because they put UNLV at 20 and Army all the way down at 24. And beating a
Yeah,
Tulane team that just lost to Memphis is not going to boost them like beating Boise State will. So,
yep. Yeah, I definitely think UNLV will get in if they beat Boise State. Um, well, yeah, yeah, they like that. Yeah, UNLV would definitely get in. I don't think Army has the the uh the resume to jump them.
Agreed.
Um, so the entire reason why I actually kind of wanted to do like a talk through session podcast was just because of the ACC dilemma right now. Because if Clemson wins on Saturday, Clemson will be in. But what happens to SMU? Do they stay in, or do they get leapfrogged by someone on the outside looking in right now, aka Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina? I think South Carolina is not going to get in because of the loss to Bama and Ole Miss. They just won't leapfrog them. I think South Carolina's probably done for the year.
Yep.
Um, and Bama will. I think Bama will get in if SMU loses. I think Bama's probably in no matter what. I don't know if you agree with that.
I would agree.
Um, so then the question is, if SMU loses, are Bama and Ole Miss going to get in?
So I guess I don't completely agree with that then, because so if Clemson ends up winning a close game versus SMU, Clemson jumps them all. You got the Big 12 team jumping them. We'll say Boise wins. So it's your current top 10 minus SMU. We'll say your Big 12 champion is the 10th team there.
I'm hoping Arizona State wins. By the way, I don't know what you think.
I think Cyclones win. I think Matt Campbell pulls it out
You think?
finally. I do.
I mean, I won't be mad about either team winning, but I don't know why. I'm kind of pulling for the Sun Devils a little bit. I just think they may have a little better chance to make some noise in the playoff than Iowa State would, but I don't know.
I think both quarterbacks have the it factor, and I think Arizona State
I
missing
know.
their star wide receiver is going to hurt them. I forget his name at the moment, but I know their star wide receiver is going to be out for the game. So, and I think Matt Campbell just
Yeah, for the
outcoaches Dillingham. I think Dillingham's doing a great job, but he's too new at this, and Matt Campbell knows what he's doing at this point because this is his second Big 12 title, I believe, second or third. It's at least his second. So,
so, yeah, I think it's gonna be a close game for
agreed.
sure. Um, yeah, both quarterbacks really really good. I'm having trouble remembering uh Rocco Becht. Is that his name?
I think
Rocco
so.
Becht, the quarterback. Yeah, for Iowa State. Um, yeah, I know the Cyclones just hammered down on the Cats last week,
Mhm.
um, which was disappointing to see. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think that'll be a close game. I think yeah, agree to disagree. I think I'm pulling for the Sun Devils just a little bit more than the Cyclones this weekend.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely have to see. But yeah, back to the point. I think SMU should stay in as long as it's not a over two possession win by Clemson. Because otherwise, why did we play the game? SMU, why would anyone want to risk being in a conference championship game, lose, and then get jumped?
Yeah,
So that's what I think should happen. What I think will happen is they'll find a way to put Bama in the playoffs because the committee
yeah.
wants to, and no one cares about SMU in the committee room. So that's what I think would happen. But what should happen is they should maybe drop below Boise and be the 12th seed because an 11-1 Power Four team should not be knocked out of the playoffs because you lost by 10 to your in your conference title game. That's absurd. but I could totally see them doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um, what was Miami ranked in CFP? Were they 12?
12. So they're also should be eliminated because Bama
That
was the
is
only
so.
one.
That is so high.
They're just that high
That's
to
so high.
cause controversy. Like
Um,
even the AP and coaches had them below South Carolina and Ole Miss, and those polls are
yeah. There's
jokes.
no
So
way. There's no way Miami would beat Bama, Ole Miss, or South Carolina. I personally don't even think Miami would beat Arizona State or Clemson. And I think basically anybody in the top 25, it would be a close game with them.
I think BYU would beat them. I think Clemson would beat them. I wouldn't be shocked if Illinois and Colorado beat them. Just their
No, I
defense.
wouldn't either.
I think Colorado Miami would be a heck of a bowl game. First team to
Yeah, it'd
75
be.
wins that one.
No, I know. That's what I was thinking. Little old school Big 12 shootout right there. Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes
Yep,
style shootout.
that would be crazy. Even
Yeah, Shador
Syracuse,
versus
yeah,
forward. I
be
wonder if
very.
that's a bowl possibility.
Um,
Colorado, Miami.
there's got to be some Big 12 ACC in there, so maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know top.
that'd be awesome.
Probably they'll probably end up playing Big 10 or SEC teams, but
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So if SMU loses respectively, like respectively,
mhm.
um, we think they stay in.
I think they should stay in. I don't think the committee keeps them in.
But will that is the question.
I think
So
I think a committee that can keep out a 12-0 Florida State team because we decided and put Bama in, I think they knock out SMU. Florida State's much bigger name. So if they kick out a 12-0 Florida State team, they're kicking out a 11-1 SMU team.
do you think that I was talking to my dad the other night and he was like, well, do you think Bama and Ole Miss and South Carolina are better than SMU? And I said yes. He was like, well, there's your answer if they lose.
That's what they'll argue. I honestly don't know if they are because, like you, I haven't watched enough SMU this year, especially of late. I saw a few early
Mhm.
games, but I
Yeah.
I honestly don't
I
know.
don't know. It's gonna be so do you think if if Boise State wins, they will get the bye?
I definitely think they will because I don't think Arizona State or Iowa State can make up a 10 or 11 or a 5 or 6 spot
Yep.
jump,
Yep.
whether I think they deserve it or not. I think it would be a
Good for
great game.
Boise State.
So, yeah,
I yeah, I'm very, very curious to um see these first round draws, with the home games. I think it's gonna be so fun.
it's going to be a blast because like Notre Dame's guaranteed one at this point. I think Ohio State's guaranteed one. Tennessee's going to get one, or maybe not Tennessee.
Yep.
Not Tennessee because the other ones will go to the losers of the SEC and Big Ten title games. So
Because yeah, who gets a home the uh home games? What seeds are they? It's
five,
five.
five,
Is
six,
it just
seven.
5, 6, 8?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
So the top four
Yeah, I'm very curious.
non-champions.
Yeah. Which I think is um yeah, Notre Dame. Um
Yeah. So this
I
case,
think yeah, Notre Dame
if the
Notre Dame has locked up home game.
mm, and show is Ohio State because they're not going to move Tennessee above Ohio State because neither of them played. So at least they shouldn't.
Yep. Yep. So is Indiana going to get one?
They'll have to go on the road because they're currently at 9. So your host as of today, if the favorites win, would be Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Ohio State. Hosting Ohio State would host Tennessee. Um, Georgia would host Indiana. Notre Dame would host Bama, and then Penn State would host Arizona State.
Arizona. Yeah,
Notre Dame
that'd be
Bama
so
would
cool.
be
If
incredible.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Imagine Arizona State walks into Happy Valley and beats them.
I could see it.
I could also see it.
Imagine Kurt Signetti walks into Athens, Georgia, and beats Georgia.
I just, I mean, I'm all about Indiana at the moment. Like, I think they're a great team, and they left nothing in doubt after that Purdue win. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure if I see Indiana beating Georgia at the moment.
What do you mean? All their 5-star recruits? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, they everybody at Indiana is playing very well right now. I'll say that they're playing very well.
Definitely.
But yeah, the playoffs. I'm very, 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 very curious to see this weekend about about how the conference championships go, and I think if SMU does not lose, it's going to be a lot easier to figure out.
Agreed. So, real quick, a question for you that we can maybe discuss after this week's games as well is how many teams do you think can win the national championship?
Oof. Um. Oh, that's 12. No, just kidding. Yeah.
So,
Um.
while you think, I can just
I would.
say my number real quick because I think it's 6. I think there are 6 teams that can win the national championship this year. Maybe 5.
Um.
You could argue me down to 5, but I think maybe 6.
I at first glance, I think I'd say 7, but
Okay.
realistically, probably somewhere in the 5 to 7 range.
Okay. Because my
Um,
6 would just be the top 6. Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Ohio State. And if I had to drop one, it would be Penn
yeah,
State.
at my top, yeah, like the 7 that I would think would be my top 7. Um, but someone who I'm a little interested about still is Notre Dame, and here's why: is that um, I watched a good amount of the USC game, and I know Lincoln Riley is a really, really good, offensive mind. But I don't know. Notre Dame's defense, besides the 2 pick sixes, which was awesome, um, I don't know. They did give up a lot of yards to USC, so I'm curious to see how their defense plays against, you know, a pretty high level of competition.
But I would argue so did
But
Penn State. So, who's also, we know, is a really good defense because they play tougher competition than Notre Dame.
it's true. Yeah, I'd like to see. Yeah, I want to see how not Indiana, sorry. I want to see how Penn State's offense is clicking this weekend, and then I think we'd circle back around to that conversation next week after the conference championships.
Definitely.
But well, anything else you want to add before we move on to kind of our last little segment?
I think, real quick, without too much discussion, let's say our Power Four conference title game winners. So, I can start real quick. I think
Go ahead.
Oregon beats Penn State. I think I think Iowa State beats Arizona State. I think SMU beats Clemson, and I think this SEC championship is a toss-up. But I think Texas does get revenge. So, and also for good measure, I think Boise State beats UNLV as well.
Who's Clemson lost to? They lost to South Carolina. They lost to Georgia
And Louisville.
and oh goodness.
The only
Okay.
close game of those was the South Carolina game because Louisville spanked them in Clemson.
I'm gonna go Oregon, and I think a pretty hefty win at that. Actually, I think they probably beat them by at least a touchdown, if not more. Um, I'm gonna go Texas. I agree. It's a very narrow thing. It's a very very narrow game, but I'm just not too confident in Georgia at the moment. And then I am also going to go Boise State to win. Um, man, this SMU Clemson game is tripping me up.
Mm.
I'm gonna say Davo gets it done and beats SMU this weekend.
Going with the
I think it'll be
experience.
close.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a close, probably like a field goal type game. Um, and I probably don't see a whole lot of points being scored. Probably first one to 28 wins the game.
I'd be surprised if it even gets that
Uh,
high. Yeah.
yeah, 24-28 range probably wins the game, I'd say.
Mhm.
And then yeah, I'm gonna go Arizona State. I'm I think Sam Levitt and Scattaboo get the job done in Dallas.
Yeah,
I do like Matt Campbell though.
we definitely have some good games though.
Oh yeah, like we don't have to watch Ohio State play Wisconsin every year, and or Ohio State play with Iowa every single year.
Michigan, Iowa twice, where you just
Yep,
don't watch the game.
Penn State, Iowa.
Right.
Yep,
So
but yeah, no, I'm excited for this weekend. It'll be good.
basically round one of the playoffs.
Yeah, honestly. Um, all right. Let's get into our last topic here. We've been going for a while now, and as I kind of mentioned earlier, Beck and I are huge Nebraska fans. I grew up a Nebraska fan, been a Nebraska fan since day one. Um, Beck is in that same boat that I am. Um, and it's been a bit of a wild week for Nebraska football. Just coming off our loss to Iowa. Iowa did not convert a single third down in the game and beat us, which is just nuts to me.
Well, Preston,
And
we
it's
in
fine.
Nebraska we call that the Nebraska way.
No, it is the Nebraska way. But credit to Kurt Ferentz in Iowa. They just they just know how to get it done.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, been a wild week. News broke out that Tony White and Terrence Knighton are going to Florida State to assume. Well, is Terrence Knighton going to Florida State or is he just out?
He hasn't announced that yet, but he announced he is leaving. So that's the assumption, since that was reported early
Okay,
yesterday or 2 days ago.
assumption that that Terrence Knighton is going to Florida State with Tony White. Two amazingly awesome coaches. Um, like so good. Seem like great dudes. They've really developed a lot of players at Nebraska, so it was definitely a tough loss, but um, I think that kind of expected for Tony White to leave just because of his really high ceiling as a D coordinator, uh, and people, wanting him as a head coach someday for sure. So I think it's just another opportunity for him to get some more experience as a DC somewhere else. Um, but yeah, a lot along with that, a lot of transfers, a lot of people from Nebraska leaving. So it kind of leaves the defense in kind of a tricky spot for our upcoming bowl game for the first time in 8 years. So and in next year as well. But um, yeah, super happy for all the guys that decided to transfer out, and as a Husker Nation, hoping that they find success in their next place of playing football. And but yeah, it's been a wild week. Beck, what are some of your thoughts on this past week for Husker football?
Yeah, definitely feel a little better after listening to Matt Rule's press conference today, but he always makes everything sound so optimistic. So, but yeah, we knew a bunch of players were leaving, just not necessarily the entire defense. Knew Tony White was leaving, just not to another school as a DC. But Rule said today in his press conference that it was White's reason was to get closer back to home since he's from Florida. So
Mm.
closer to family was the reason that Rule gave today, at least. Definitely calmed down after the initial spurt, but still seeing some of these young guys take off, and uh, even seeing Butler leave after he said he was coming back. That one definitely hit hard. But
Yeah,
as I've
yeah,
heard some of the more optimistic fans say as of late, all trust in Rule. He will get this figured out, and we will have a good football team next year. So
Rule he's a CEO, man. He knows what he's doing. Um, yeah, I'm uh I'm very very curious to see what this team will look like next year. It is going to be a very very young team next year, which is exciting. A little scary, but it's exciting. Um, most of the O line is gone after this year. Uh, basically, we'll have a whole new defense next year, apart from hoping that some of our defensive backs stay along and um, don't transfer out. Um, so yeah, our receiver core is going to be super young. Running back room still pretty young next year. O line, I mean, I haven't even really thought about the O line, how young they're going to be until right now. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I thought signing day went well today. Got that late flip for Cortez Mills, which was awesome, and I think I think we brought in this pretty solid class, honestly.
agreed. I think we're sixth ranked in the Big Ten and highest of the old Big Ten West, and 21st overall, I think, according to On Three at least. So definitely
Hmm.
some talent, which is huge. I think we got three or four top 400 players. So
Hmm.
it's
Yep.
always good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we hit with like the team. I think we hit the team needs really well. Got some O linemen in here. Got some D linemen in here. Two really solid linebackers with Christian Jones and Dawson Merritt, which was awesome. Um, got some good wide receiver talent um, with Isaiah Mosey and Cortez Mills and one other guy. I can't remember his name though. Um, but yeah, no, I think it was a solid recruiting class, and very, very, very curious to see about this bowl game. We got Dana staying for 2 more years, which is awesome. Super excited to see a Dana Holgerson offense at Nebraska. I was listening to him talk today on that live stream, and he was saying, he was like, yeah, he was like a lot of people say like I run air raid, but at West Virginia we were kind of ground and pound for a while. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how Dana evaluates what we have on offense and where we go from there with his system.
Yeah, and how that adjusts. So I guess along that line, do you think that we're going to turn into more of a USC than we are our current Iowa type defensive team, or are we going to turn into a USC team with Dana Holgerson leading us to 550 yards a game?
I mean, you know me, Beck. I like to throw the ball. I like running. I do like running. I like it a lot, especially when it's working. But throwing the ball, it has its time and place for sure. Um, I think when the run game is working, you run the ball because it wears down the defense. Um, and I think this year we saw Nebraska's run game be very, very effective at times. Um, so I think that we will be somewhere in the middle of that. I think we will play a little more defensively, but I also think that we will open some things up quite a bit, which will be really fun to see.
Yeah, definitely. And we're bringing back, I think we're bringing back two starters on the O line, and then the other two guys, and two of those guys who are going to play, both got some playing time this year. So the O line should be looking pretty decent to go with our two really good young running backs.
Because it'll be Justin Evans will be there, Gunnar Gatula will be there,
Mm-hmm.
um,
So
and then
you're missing Ben Scott's
Bryson,
gone.
not Bryson,
Ben Scott's gone. Bryce Benhart's gone. So we actually have three
and
starters returning because Latovsky started at right guard. So we're just needing a new center
was
for right
Latovsky.
tackle.
Is Latovsky a junior?
Correct.
Okay. Um, yeah, new center. Justin Evans could go play center, so you could just need a left guard. Um,
And the
I know
depth,
he played some center last.
yeah, and the depth chart has Sam Sledge as the backup center. So maybe he will, as a redshirt sophomore, get that role. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who's going to emerge as those other starting linemen. Like, will Grant Bricks emerge from it, or, you know, I know, I think it was Matt Rule's first year. He brought in quite a few offensive guards and tackles, which I feel like he does, year by year. But maybe even some of the transfer guys like Tyler Nack. I wonder if he'll get in at all next year. Pretty curious to see about the offense, just because with Dana, and then also because like the wide receiver core, like we were texting about earlier, is really young next year. Like a lot of freshmen, and uh, redshirt freshmen and sophomores are gonna have to make some plays next year for the wideouts.
Yeah, and along that line, as Rule talked about in the press conference, how he's kind of gonna give Heinrich Harburg the role to try out some other positions so that he can turn into an NFL player. So yes, we'll have to look for
Awesome.
a new backup quarterback probably because we'll probably try and redshirt TJ coming in, but Heinrich playing
Yep.
Tyson Hill position should be awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Heinrich's a beast, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what this quarterback room's gonna look like next year too.
I think we're gonna have to go grab one because Rule also said Gramstad is up in the air whether he's going to come back. He does have another year of eligibility, but whether or not he takes it
Oh.
hasn't decided yet. So with
Mm,
Kalen hitting the portal,
yeah. 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 I know. Yeah. I'm guessing we're gonna redshirt Latif, but then coming up year after that, uh, that'll be Dayton's time to come sign on with Nebraska.
oh yeah, And
So yeah,
and
this
he might
quarterback room is going to look real interesting.
should be should be 3 4 star or higher players. So
Which is pretty cool.
definitely.
But anything you want to add to the Nebraska talk at all?
Um, really, only thing is just trying to sit out this rough waters and hope that they're a lot calmer on the other side once we. Rule said he's going to take his time on
Yeah.
hiring a DC, so maybe once we get that done and maybe we start adding some guys out of the portal or maybe try and get some of these guys to come back, which would be great.
Yep.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Portal opens Monday.
I think so.
I think so as well. Um, yeah, I'm curious to see where these guys that hopped in the portal at Nebraska, where they're actually going to go. I was listening to Husker Online the other day, and they were talking about some guys just hop in the portal just to like explore who wants to offer them, but then they'll hop back out and stay. So I'm pretty curious about that. Who's actually gonna maybe do that? Who's gonna leave? Um, and yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see who we're gonna hire as DC. Who would be your top pick right now for DC?
I think it's going to end up being Butler or Snow, but I would go after. I'm blanking on his name right now, but the old Wisconsin DC, Jim Leonard.
Leonard.
Yep, I think that would be the. And Rule tried to hire him the first time, I believe, and Leonard turned him down. So maybe
Yeah,
he'd be interested this time. Kind of like Dana turned him down the
yeah,
first time.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I'm with you there. I do think it's gonna be Butler or Snow, but yeah, I'd love to see Rule make an attempt at hiring Leonard.
and he might. Like, no one saw Tony White coming, and that turned out pretty darn well. So, and no one saw
I
Dana
wouldn't
coming.
mind Ryan Walters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ryan Walters would be a good hire.
I think he would as well, but his 1 year of experience at DC makes me a little cautious, but
Yeah,
it'd be interesting.
yeah. I think with Butler as DC, I'd just be very curious because I don't know a whole lot about his experience at DC other than the fact that I'm pretty sure Nebraska with Ron Kellogg beat that Penn State team in 2013 when he was the DC.
Probably that
I
sounds
could be
right.
wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was the DC in 2013 at Penn State. Yeah, I don't know. And then Phil Snow is Phil Snow. Everyone kind of knows about him.
He's been
Produces solid defense.
right. Yeah, and Butler's only got 1 year of actually being a DC. Otherwise, he's just been a assistant, mostly with defensive backs,
Mm,
both in the NFL and college. So
okay. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how this search goes out. But yeah, I think it'll be a good one. Very curious about the program next year, and I think uh, can't let it slip through our minds that we got a bowl game coming up soon.
I know, and sounds like we're using it as basically just the first game of next season. So it should be interesting to see how these young guys play.
I know. I'm curious. I was listening to Husker Online. I think we're basically a lock for the Pinstripe Bowl.
Which is sad, but because I'll be in Phoenix when the Guarantee Rate Bowl goes on. But we'll,
Oh, maybe the Pinstripe Bowl will pass up on Nebraska, and then Phoenix gets that pick.
Maybe. I think Michigan winning screwed us over on that chance, but because I think Michigan was going to end up in the pinstripe.
Oh,
So we'll see. Maybe we get a better one
yeah,
too, just based on they know we're going to travel for it. So we'll see. We'll see how it ends up.
that would be super cool though if they actually did end up going to Phoenix. You
Dude,
just pop on over, buy a $20 ticket for it.
I would so be there.
Yeah, yeah, that would be awesome. I don't know if so. If we do go to the Pinstripe Bowl, who do you think we're playing?
That one was ACC, right?
ACC. Yeah, it's ACC.
I mean, a fun one would be Syracuse, with us almost getting Kyle McCord before Dylan committed.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Also, it would be fun to play Louisville with playing Brom again.
yep,
So I probably want to play one of those two, but I think
yep,
we trounce anyone else. Like if we played Pitt, even Duke, I think we trounce
yep.
both of them.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think from what I've been seeing, I think Duke, Boston College, Syracuse, um, and uh,
Pitt,
yeah, Pitt was the possibilities.
all would be fun games.
So
I think Syracuse and Louisville would be the hard ones. Depend again, all depends on who actually plays the bowl game because nowadays half the team could be in the portal and we're playing
mhm.
a completely different
Yep,
team. So we'll see.
yep, yeah. I'm curious, and especially too, like if it's New York, it's freezing cold. So I'm uh I'm pretty curious to see how that game would turn out at Yankee Stadium.
We would definitely be ready for it because we've been practicing in the cold all year compared to like Syracuse that plays in a dome and Louisville's not that cold.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
So
But well, Beck, we've been at this for a while now. So I say we can take a break and we can talk a little more next week after we have some conference champions to discuss, and I think we'd probably do another one of these episodes after the CFP rankings come out on Sunday. Probably shoot again for next Wednesday, but it's just fun. It's fun to set aside some time for us to talk some football, and um, you know, a lot of the time throughout the day, you don't really get a chance to talk a lot of football just because you got other things to do. But this was fun, and I'm glad we got to do it.
definitely glad we got to do this and definitely can't wait to have more of an excuse to sit my butt on the couch all Saturday. So
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, this was fun, and we will see anybody or nobody who may be watching this in our next episode coming next week.